Welcome to PODnas. This is a sports podcast that is in a Louisiana view. Today, we're going to be talking about a vibe check after the LSU spring game that just happened this past weekend. How are people feeling in Baton Rouge? How are we as LSU Tiger fans feeling about it? We are two Cajun boys. I am Daniel Hawks. This is Jared Roser. Jared, how you doing today?
Good, man. Excited to chat a little bit about this spring and where this team is heading in the offseason.
Yeah.
Excited to see you, man.
I apologize for not saying two Cajun partners. That's my fault. That's my fault. I'll take a L on that. But what won't take a L is Caleb Jackson, because I watched highlights of the spring game and he's a man, dude. He's an absolute man. He was bowling people over. I don't think I saw his legs stop moving. I'm excited about it. That was my big takeaway.
So look, you sent me like a little list of here's some things I want to talk about. And I think Caleb Jackson was like the third or fourth thing. And it was like, I'm going to ask Jared a bunch of stuff about like his takeaways from the spring. I really want to talk about Caleb Jackson. And you just threw every bit of that out of the window. Like, Caleb Jackson, man. Caleb, I've known Caleb since Caleb was probably 14 over here before Liberty Magnet even had a varsity football program. I just saw him in 7-on-7 as a young guy who was bigger than everyone else on the field in 15U competition and flying around, and watching him in his outside of even the football field, some of his track times and everything he was putting up. And then as soon as he got over to LSU, the excitement of that coaching staff to feel like, hey, we've got this very large human who is flying at an obscene 40 time for his size. And we think that he is the next. I mean, people say now, like, I'm him, I'm the one, whatever. He was the next great running back coming through.
I am him.
Yeah. I'm so ready, by the way, for that whole trend to pass, because everyone is him now, but Caleb Jackson is legitimately him. And we've seen flashes of it already in an LSU jersey. And I think we've only seen the little tip of the iceberg of what they expect him to be in that backfield for the next couple of years. And, hopefully on to the next level beyond that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited about it. What were some of the, like I said, let's go over, from what you've heard, with people, what are the vibes going around with the team after the spring game and with just in general, the Baton Rouge LSU like fan base from what you've heard?
Yeah. And I'm just going to admit right off the bat, as I did with the women's basketball, that my left eye is so aggressively caffeinated. It's driving me insane. But the vibe in terms of the LSU football team, I think at this time of year they're a program that is always going to be confident coming out of the spring. And you look at a team the last couple of years that ended up having 10-win seasons despite coaching turnover, and this past year the defense having as rough of a go as it did. And so when you're talking about how we're feeling in April and May and knowing the level of talent that is going to be in that LSU facility annually, it's always going to be positive. There's going to be some questions that they have to figure out over the next few months, and really once we get into fall, continue to figure out as they grow together as a team. But I think don't expect the offense to be what we saw it be and reaching historic and Heisman proportions with Jaden Daniels and a couple of first-round wide receivers, but I do expect them to be good. They've got a lot of pieces with which to work on that side, and you don't expect the defense, even with a lot of questions still to be answered, to be as bad as they were this past year, because for most of that year it would be tough to be that bad again.
I think that inflated, which was an amazing year by Jaden, Malik, and Brian and everyone on that offense last year. But I truly believe that those numbers get inflated because our defense had such trouble stopping anyone. So those guys had to go out and put up those points, and they were capable of doing it. That's why all of them are going to go probably in the top, 15, 20, maximum 20 in this year's draft.
And look, I think just from some of the coaching change standpoints, I'm really excited to see Blake Baker come back home to Louisiana, Corey Raymond come back home to Louisiana, and some of the ways that we're going to see guys, I feel like, put in better position overall to make plays. There's a lot of guys that are going to have to grow up really quickly and be called upon in bigger roles in terms of the roster standpoint on defense. And that's part of why I think seeing the spring that a guy like PJ Woodland as a freshman had, or a Gabe Relaford as a freshman had, I think is really encouraging, because you're going to have some younger guys called upon early on, but they're talented young guys that we're already seeing some early enrollee flashes from. And I'm excited to see, as we talk more about this actually getting into August, what that looks like.
So, with, you talking about this turnover, we're talking about everything. You hit a couple of things. Um, do you think that defense is going to get shored up? I know we just kind of talked about that. And also, like, what is the quarterback situation looking like? I know Garrett is in line to start, correct? If I'm
Yeah.
wrong, yeah, for sure. He's putting the time
It's
and work.
yeah, it's
I can't
it's
say his,
so
I'm
funny
scared
to
to
hear
say his
you.
last name. I can't say his last name. I get it wrong every time. Nussmanger, Nudeminer, Garrett. Say
Unreal.
it.
It's so
Say it.
it is so weird for me being here to hear someone mess up Garrett Nussmeier's name or be uncertain if he's the guy. Um,
Garrett Nussmeier.
just say Nuss, bro. Just say Nuss or Nussmeier.
Nuss.
It's not
I can do
it's
Nuss.
not even a difficult name. And that's the crazy part to me as
Listen,
well.
this is on my fault as a human. This has nothing to do
Yeah,
with his name.
we know. But it is crazy to me to hear. And if we haven't mentioned it already in this episode, as folks get a chance to know you better, you're in Chicago. You've been in Chicago the last decade
Decade.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's
Decade
interesting to
plus.
me, as someone who's been so close to watching Garrett's kind of growth through the LSU program, to realize that, like, our friends and fans around the country in some cases may not be as aware of kind of that behind the scenes, for the most part, and just in some spot duty development, and taking over for that bowl game and having a nice performance and whatnot. But yeah, Garrett's been preparing for this moment for a couple of years now, and I have all kinds of confidence in what he can do at the helm. Again, I'm not expecting him to go out there and win a Heisman. So he's filling big shoes, but
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a really talented quarterback, and he's got a lot of weapons around him who, again, I'm not expecting necessarily to be Malik and Brian Thomas numbers per se, but I have a lot of confidence in what they can do as an offensive unit.
That Kyron Lacey touchdown was beautiful. I mean, there was a blown coverage in the spring game, but it was just a straight rocket.
That's what's always so interesting to me watching spring games or any sort of scrimmage or even practice is I come out of every spring and feel like, okay, so is this position group incredible, or is the position group on the other side of the line of scrimmage from them struggling, or like what are kind of like
Yeah.
how do we judge some of that when you're going against each other that much, and know that at the end of the day, y'all are part of the same team in the fall. But
and so speaking of that, we just had a bunch of people leave on or go into the transfer portal. Can you give just a little insight on that and what that kind of means for us, and what kind of significance these players were to the Tiger team?
yeah, well, for us, I don't know, for the LSU football team, because I do still come from the journalistic background where I work with the bootlegger 7-on-7 team in the spring, and I had a dad ask, "Hey, so what happened?" I was like, "Oh yeah, they won," and they said, "Oh, the other team won." I said, "Oh no, sorry, the bootleggers won, but I just don't take the
Yeah.
credit from the kids. Like, they went out there and won. I took videos and I'm trying to like promote what they're doing or whatever." But I kind of like have such a natural detachment from those things. But for LSU,
Well, my role on this podcast is to be the
yeah,
stupid fan. So I guide you in a little bit, and it's more to just say dumb things that you correct me on. So
sure. But I'm not real worried about the transfer portal right now, in the sense of the guys who are heading out. It's a situation where LSU this spring had more scholarship guys coming into this offseason when you add in all the recruiting class than than they could have held. They have, as much as has changed with recruiting classes the last couple of years, and you can now sign more than 25 scholarship guys in a given year. You still, at the end of the day, have to be under an 85 scholarship limit for the roster total, however old or young they may be. And so they were past that number, had to have some level of attrition. And you're looking at a lot of guys who were, in some cases second string guys, in some cases maybe not even second string guys, who are going to find bigger roles for this fall elsewhere. And LSU is still going to be somewhat active in filling a couple of key needs. I think we expect to see a defensive lineman or two heading into Baton Rouge via the portal.
Okay.
I'm interested to see if they possibly add another running back, because they don't have the depth at that position that they had a year ago, but also they still have your new man crush Caleb Jackson and the veteran Josh Williams, Trey Holly back at some point, the freshman Caden Durham. And so I don't know that there's that much of a position of need on offense, but I know that that's a deep position in the portal this portal season or whatever. And so we'll see. But ultimately, I think you're looking at predominantly a numbers game, and I'm not overly worried about the guys heading elsewhere. Wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, wish them the best of luck. I hope if LSU plays them that LSU wins. I'm sorry. I just can't go where my heart won't lead me,
Sure.
I feel excited I want it to be August, late August, early September already. You got me pumped up for this LSU season. So I'm going to go down to Frontier, the LSU Alumni Association bar here in Chicago. Got a New Orleans Chef Jupiter. Oh man, I'm going to eat.
Great brunch spot if you're a Louisianan up in Chicago. Some of the best shrimp Creole I've ever had was up at Frontier one day when we went over there. And you have the Sunday morning jazz brunch. So I don't know if Frontier wants to sponsor Louisiana podcast, but I'm a big fan of what they do.
Hey, same. We're putting it out there. You gotta be the change you want to see in the world, Yo, that has been PODnas. We thank you guys so much for coming out. All of our social links, follow us on there through the Louisiana versus All Y'all feed, but you can also find our IG and TikTok and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now, Facebook. All that stuff is going to be down in this description. Check it out. And PODnas out.